Fine. Now, many people had been asking me some questions after the class yesterday. First of all, the question being asked was, Ashish, if what is RC and what is WebDriver, the basic difference between them. Okay, 2-3 guys asked this question to me. Well, RC is the older version of Selenium. Okay, and WebDriver is the new version. All I can tell you the difference is that in Selenium RC, first of all, we had a server which had to be started. Okay, and in WebDriver actually there is no server. Yesterday you actually saw that, right? You just simply execute your Java code and it executes. Fine. Then look, if I tell you the differences now, you will not be able to understand. Basically, the difference is between the API. If I show you the Java docs, yesterday I actually showed you the Java docs, right? If you go to Google, if you go to seleniumhq.org and click on download over here, and if you look at the Java docs over here, these are the Java docs. This is the Java version, right? This Java doc out here is actually having all the classes, right? These are the Java docs for WebDriver. These are all the classes in WebDriver. If you look at Selenium RC, I'll just go to Google and type Selenium RC Java docs, and if you look at the Java docs of Selenium RC, then these are the Java docs. Look, the number of classes, you see the difference? Okay, the difference is basically the API. When you study the API, you will come to know. In RC, there was no separate class for separate browsers. In WebDriver, we have got separate classes for separate browsers, like we saw yesterday, right? Internet Explorer driver, iDriver, and Firefox driver, and all everything. Okay, so fine. Now, yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So there is a problem between your voice and the video, so it's not synced. So it lagged. There is a lag. So
okay.
I hear your voice first, and then the video is.
Okay. What I'll do is, I hope you have a good net speed, right? I'll just unshare my desktop and I'll share it again. Fine. So right, as I was telling you, I hope the speed is good now and everything is fine. Now, in this is the Java doc for WebDriver, and the Java doc for RC is actually very small. There are number of classes, they are very less, right? The features, there a lot of new features have been added. We have different classes and all everything, and for example, one of the differences which I can let you know right now is that suppose you are performing a click operation in RC. Okay, after clicking on a particular link, the next page takes some time to load. Okay, so in RC you had to fire the command wait for page to load after every click. Fine. So this was the command which you had to write again and again after every click. So this used to be a little it used to be frustrating many times. Fine. In WebDriver they have removed it. WebDriver has got implicit wait, which I'll be teaching you. Right. In that you don't have to wait. It will automatically by itself it waits for a particular time which is specified in the very beginning. Right. So there are differences. There are many differences. Right. But technically, to understand those differences, first you need to know technically any one of the particular what do you say, tools, like either WebDriver or RC. Fine. So now we had this project day 1 which we had made yesterday, and in this, what is synchronization time in Selenium? That's what in Selenium we have got implicit wait. Okay, it's by default 0, you have to set it in the code. Once you have started the driver, okay, after that you give the implicit wait. I'll come over to those topics as well, that what is implicit wait, how do you give implicit wait and all, right? So just hold on. Okay, there is a synchronization timeout over here, but in QTP, like, it is by default 20 seconds. It is not By default out here it is 0. You have to set it yourself when you write the code. Okay. Now let's make a new project today called as day 2. Right. Now in day 2 I'll add the Selenium jar files. I hope there is no delay in my screen now. Every time you make the project, you have to add the jar files. It's not that you once add them and it's added forever. Every time you have to add, and also add the jar files under the libs. Right? You have to add all the jar files. Now Selenium is configured, and these are the reference libraries. Okay. Now in the source folder, I'll be making a new class, and that class can be, we can say that the class name is Gmail. Okay, let's take up a very simple example. That is, we will open the browser, go to gmail.com, and we will actually try to enter the username, password, and all everything. Okay, but to understand that, first of all, we need to understand the basics of HTML, because if I write like this, Firefox driver equals dr equals to new Firefox driver. Okay, and if I write driver.get http gmail.com, right, and then I have to enter the username, password. Basically, I have to log in. Now, before I log in, there are various preconditions. Suppose that is, I want to test this script. I want to run this script on multiple browsers. Now, if this is the condition, then will I change my code next time if somebody tells me, fine, Ashish, go and run the script on Chrome? Will I comment this line and will I write like this? Chrome driver equals to new Chrome driver and then driver.get. No, we don't do it like that, right? So how do I make this script make work on multiple browsers? Firstly, right, to answer this question, right, you need to first understand the concept of interfaces in object-oriented programming. Okay. Now another question can be that we have got Firefox driver class. Yesterday we saw, right, we have got various classes, like we have got Firefox driver, then we have got Chrome driver, we have got Internet Explorer driver. Similarly, Safari driver is also there, but it is not so stable. It's just been introduced, but Safari driver is not very stable out here. Okay, and so I'm not taking it right now because half the things they don't work on it, but I think in next few releases it will be made stable and things will start working on it as well. Right. Now the question arises that if we have got 3 driver classes, and is it like that if I want to click a link on Firefox, there's a separate function, and if I want to click a link on Chrome, there's a separate function, and if I want to click a link on Internet Explorer, then there's a separate function for that. Will I have to remember separately the functions of each and every driver? Right, that's the question. Well, the answer is no. Fine, you'll get why the answer is no from the following example. Right, I'm going to teach you. I'll move back to Java. I'll move back to the object-oriented concepts, and then I'll come back to Selenium and I'll implement them. Right. So let's make a new interface out here. I'll tell you what an interface is. Right. Hold on. Suppose I will make this interface name as a very simple thing. Say car. Okay, you have this code generated, class generated, Java file, public interface car. Now interface is very different than a class. Like yesterday we had made this class called public class city. Okay, interface is something which is abstract in nature. What do you mean by abstract? To tell you in a very layman's term, right? Interface is like a la carte menu, right? Suppose you go to a restaurant, you have your food over there, fine, and you in the beginning what the restaurant guys they present you with the menu that fine, this is the dish which is available and this is the price, whichever you want to order you can order. Similarly, interface is like that. It tells you what the application does. For example, in car interface I can have a function called public void start, okay, and then I can have a function called public void stop, right, then public void fill gas. So we define the interface like this. It's got methods, but the methods have got no bodies. Fine. So we write start, stop, fill gas. These are the methods in the interface. They have got no body. So just by looking at the interface car, you will come to know what are the features of the car. Right. Now suppose I make a new class called Audi. Fine. Audi is a car. Fine. It's a class Audi. What I'll do is I'll write over here public class Audi implements interface. Sorry, implements car. So when you write like this, that this class is implementing the car interface which you just created out here, that means that it has to implement all the features of the car interface. It cannot skip any feature. It will have to give body to all the three functions out here. So what I'll have to do is that I'll have to, in Eclipse you can move your mouse over this error and you can select the option add unimplemented methods and the code will be automatically generated. Right. Now in the start function I will write something that, for example, system.out.println car starting. So start, stop and fill gas, all the three functions, they come inside the car in the Audi class. Fine. Now what are these signs? Override. This tells you that the function is actually being implemented from the car interface. This is practically known as an annotation. If a person who is not aware of the project, he looks at this class, he will actually come to know that this function has got the override tag, that means annotation, override annotation, that means this function is coming from the car interface. It is not mandatory to put this override sign. You can also remove this. Okay, you can also remove this sign, and if I just delete this, you can delete it as well. Okay, but it's a good practice to put it because it tells you that this function is coming from the car interface. Fine. Now, if I put in system.out.println car stopping, and I can also put like this system.out.println car filling gas. Okay, if you delete one of the functions from the interface, you will get an error. You cannot do that. If you are implementing an interface, you have to implement all the functions of the interface. Okay. Now suppose I make another class. Say I write over here new class, say BMW. Fine. This is the new class. And BMW also I'll write that it implements the car interface. Right. Now I can move my mouse over there and add the unimplemented functions in this class as well. This class will also have the same functions: start, stop, fill gas, and all. Right. And I can write in this system.out.println car starting. Okay. And then I can write car stopping. I hope there is no delay right now. If there is a delay, please let me know. And car filling gas. Fine. So I have this BMW class, I have this car Audi class. Fine. Both of them are implementing the car interface. It is like this. This is the car interface, and both BMW and Audi, they both implement the car interface. Okay. Now suppose if I make a new class over here, a client class like test car with the main function. Okay. Till now I did not make any main function because I never wanted to execute those classes. I want to create the objects of those classes and execute it from test car. Now suppose if I create the object of interface. Out here, what is the interface? Car is the interface. Okay. If I create the object of interface, if I write over here car C equals to new car, I will get an error. Why? Because it is illegal. You cannot create the object of interfaces. Interface is something which is not complete, which is just having something which tells you that fine, this application is supposed to do this thing. So it is not complete. So you cannot create the object of an interface. Okay. So you comment this out. You cannot do that. If I create the object of Audi class, yes, you can do that. You can write Audi dot start, Audi dot, you can call all the non-static functions, and Audi dot fitness. Right, yesterday we saw, right, what objects are. Fine. Similarly, I can create the object of BMW. This is very important concept because this will be used in Selenium. Okay, BMW dot start, stop, and fitness. Fine. If you run this, both the functions will be called, and car starting. Hold on. In BMW, I should actually write BMW. This will make it clear to you. And in Audi, I will write Audi starting. Fine. Now, if I run this test car.java, if I run this, this will print. First, it will print Audi for Audi, and then it will print for BMW. Fine. Till now, it is good. Everybody would be able to understand, I hope. Fine. Now, why do we use interface then? Okay. Can't I create a separate Audi class and separate BMW? Why is the use of interface in between? The use of interface is that it provides an architecture. It provides a particular structure to the complete thing. Right? Tomorrow, if a new class comes up.
There is a lag again between your voice and the video.
Karan, can you please just try to join the meeting again, because I don't think so it is there for everybody.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, because people are not telling me. If it's there for everybody, then let me know. Fine. Right. So it gives a particular structure to the complete application. Fine. And tomorrow, if a new car is added, like if a new car is added, say a car called Maruti is added, again it will implement the same interface. And if it implements the same interface, it will have the same functions: start, stop, and fitness. So we really don't have to worry what functions will be there in a car which is added in the car series, right? So now similar thing happens in WebDriver. In WebDriver, everything is inbuilt. You have to understand it from the Java docs. Okay, if you go to the Java docs and if you look at the Java docs, then whatever is in italics out here in Java docs, all the class names which are written in italics are interfaces. For example, this mouse is written out here, right? This is an interface. Again, if you want to ask me any question, you can also ask me on WebEx chat. You can move your mouse on the top. There is a chat option available. You can ask me, or you can also ping me on Skype if you want. If you are not having your microphone, okay? Or you can unmute and ask me a question. Fine. As I was telling you, mouse is an interface. If you look at it, it is written interface mouse. these are the functions: click, context, click. So you can perform mouse operations with this. Okay, so basically in Selenium, mouse is a interface. This is the interface. And implementing classes are these two are implementing classes. These are the two classes implementing the mouse interface. So the functions in both the classes would be same. That is click, context, click, double click, mouse move. So all these functions would be same in both the classes. So that's how you read this documentation, right? So everybody has heard about the word WebDriver, right? Which is the latest version of Selenium. What is WebDriver? If you go by the documentation, then WebDriver is an interface. And all the classes like Android driver, Android web driver, Chrome driver, event firing driver, all these classes, Firefox driver, IE driver, Chrome driver, all the classes implement the WebDriver interface. That means all these classes, Chrome driver, IE driver, Firefox driver, they would be having same functions in them. So you really don't have to worry that what will the function in Chrome driver and what will be the function in IE driver. And suppose if a new driver comes up, for example, Safari driver came up around a month or two back, around 2 months back. So it also had the same set of features which are there in WebDriver interface. Okay, and the WebDriver interface has got these functions. For example, close, this will close the browser. Find element, this is to find the element on a page. Get, we studied this function, right? It loads a new web page in the current browser. Then there is a function called say get title. As the name suggests, it will get the title of the page. Fine. So sure, I'll be sharing the videos, right? Day 1 I will share after the class. Okay, day 2 I will get it in like my team. Okay, so these are the functions. Okay, and this is the WebDriver interface. Okay, now if you look at the older version of Selenium, which is Selenium RC, if you look at the Java docs for Selenium RC, then these are the Java docs. Fine. And in this Java doc, if you look at this, Selenium is written over here. So Selenium was actually an interface in the older version of Selenium. That is Selenium RC. Now many times people go to interview and the interviewer asks the question, what is WebDriver? And they tell all the stuff that WebDriver test your application, WebDriver is the new version of Selenium. If the interviewer is asking you this question, he might be expecting a technical answer from you as well. WebDriver is basically an interface. That's the technical answer, and all the classes, Chrome driver, Firefox, and all are implementing this interface, right? So people fail out here. Many people they fail out there. So you have to be a little technical. I will actually say yes. Being a tester, people say it is unfair to ask a tester to learn Java language. Well, if you got into testing thinking that you won't have to do programming, then it is wrong. It's a wrong approach, because in coming days, the future of testing, I can see that it's all in automation. 2005, 6, 2004, when I was there, nobody used to talk, very few people used to talk about automation. Started in 2006, slowly and slowly it is increasing. The demand for automation is increasing. To talk about tools like, if even the performance testing tool, load runner and all, they also, or JMeter especially, it requires you to have a good technical aptitude. So it's not something which will come in one day, or it's not something which will come in 1 week or 1 month. It takes time. Okay, it takes time to settle in your mind as well, right? So what I can say is, give yourself some time. Okay, you can understand all of this easily. Only thing is you have to give some time to this. Now in your Selenium project which I have created over here. Fine. I'll create a new, I'll go back to gmail.java. Right. Now the question is that I want to test this on different browsers. I want to write a very dynamic code which when supplied that fine, execute the code with this browser, it should execute. I shouldn't be changing the code out here. Right. So for that I'll again go back to my interfaces. I'll go to test car over here. Fine. So I have written like this: Audi A equals to new Audi, BMW B equals to new BMW. Fine. Now suppose I go inside my class Audi.java and I create a new function called public void, say show map. Now this is a feature which is only for Audi, not for all the class, not for all the classes, sorry. Fine. So you can print over here Audi showing maps. Fine. Now show map is a feature which is there for Audi, it is not for all the other classes. This is something which is its own feature. Now if you go to test car, when you create the object of Audi, you can call it, you can write a dot test car, show map. Fine. Now if I go forward, this is valid, this will work. Now I am going to create the object in a different way now. I'll write over here interface car c equals to new Audi. So this is something which we didn't actually see yesterday. It is possible only in case of interfaces. That is, the reference of interface equals to new Audi. That means it points to the object of the Audi class. With this reference, if I write like this, what is the use? I can call the start function, I can call the stop function, I can call the fill gas function. That's it. I can only call those functions which are implemented in Audi class from the car interface. I cannot call the functions which are there in the Audi and which are there just for Audi. If I write over here c.showMap, it will not run. It will give you an error. It is undefined for a type car. So only those features which are there in the car interface, they will be available out here. If I write like this. Fine. Now how this is used? Practically how this is used. If I go to my gmail.java, right, what I will do is I'll write over here WebDriver. I can write like this, right? WebDriver. WebDriver is the interface and Firefox driver is the class which is implementing that interface. So I can write WebDriver driver equals to new Firefox driver. I can write like this. Fine. I can also write like this, that WebDriver, say driver 1 equals to new Chrome driver. And because Chrome driver is also implementing the interface. But the thing is, only those functions with the help of driver and driver 1 which we can call only those functions which are implemented in these interfaces from the WebDriver interface. And the better part is that these two classes, they hardly define their own custom functions. All the functions in these two classes and all the other classes as well are coming from the WebDriver interface only. Okay, so now if you write like this, practically how we'll write is we'll write WebDriver driver equals to none. Okay, we will not initialize it. Okay, and we'll write over here string browser type equals to Mozilla. Now generally what we'll do is we will read this browser type, we will not put it over here. When we write our scripts, we will be reading this browser type from an Excel file or a properties file or an XML file, wherever you have to read it from. That is, I want to test my script on this particular browser. Fine. and I will keep an if condition. I can keep that if the browser type is equal to Mozilla, then you can write driver equals to new Firefox driver. Fine. Else if the browser type is equal to say Chrome, you can set the system property for Chrome driver, which I had explained yesterday out here. This was the line. Right, and you can initialize the driver with Chrome driver. Fine. And similarly for I, you can have an else if statement that if the browser is equal to I, then you can initialize your I out here. Okay. So basically what I am doing is, you can write the line which I had written yesterday. You can write this. I'll do it. So you can set the path of I driver and you can write like this. So basically on the fly, whatever value comes from the Excel file, you'll open up that particular browser and you can use the driver functions then. If you write driver dot, you will get the functions. Now these functions, they are common for all the browsers, Firefox, IE and Chrome, because all these three classes, they implement the WebDriver interface. So if I am writing get function, get is there in all these things. You can write http gmail.com. So it will simply go to Gmail after opening the browser. Okay, if you run this, this will open Mozilla and it will take you to Gmail. Look, I am not talking about validations here. I am not talking about testing here. I am not talking about generating reports here. I am not talking about anything right now. Why? Look, this tool is an open source tool. It's not like QTP, wherein you have, if you have worked on QTP or any other paid tool, everything is inbuilt. You have a data table in QTP in which you have Excel files. You have, if you run the script, automatically the reports are generated and all, everything. This tool is an independent tool which only interacts with browser. It is not responsible for generating reports. So as testers, you would be having questions in your mind right now that how will I do my validations? How will I actually perform the testing on this? Fine. So I'll answer this question now, that if you suppose that these are your Selenium test cases, okay, written in Java language. These are some of your Selenium test cases. Okay. Now, work of Selenium, these test cases, they have to be executed in a particular order. Fine. Now, work of Selenium is actually to just interact with the browser. Fine. So this will be Selenium out here. It will not be responsible for generating your test cases. Sorry, for generating your reports, reading data from Excel file and everything. This will be your Selenium. That's it. If the work of Selenium is to just interact with browser. Okay. Now after this, what you want? You want that your data should be parameterized. That means data should be read from Excel file or an XML file, everything. Apart from this, you have some test settings, right? You need to keep those test settings in a text file or a dot properties file, whatever it is. These are your settings for the test, that this is my admin URL, admin password, whatever it is. You have to have, in any application you have a test settings, the release number and all, build number, where to run the script, whether on production server, stats server, UAT server and all. So those things are not managed by Selenium. Okay. Then again you have got something known as, like, you have to generate HTML reports. Fine. Now you have to actually do some logging. Suppose if the script is running for 10 hours, you need to know what happened at each and every minute. Fine, you have to do logging. So this left part out here, XML text testing, this is not supported by Selenium. We have to do it ourselves, right? Maybe you have to connect to database and you need to do the database validations. Who will connect to database? Your Java code will connect to database, not Selenium, right? To manage all these things together, what we do is we introduce a framework in between. This framework is known as, practically some people use Junit, some people use TestNg, sometimes people use fitnesse with fixtures and all. Then you have Cucumber in Java. So there are a lot of things available, right? So how stuff works out here is that this framework which is in between, it reads the data from the Excel file, it calls the corresponding test cases, it passes on the data to them, right? The test cases, they return the result to the framework, it generates the HTML reports, it does the logging, it does the text and property settings files and all. It actually, out here only we write the Java code to connect to database. So you have this centralized framework which will actually do everything for you. So right now my concentration is just in the first at least 2 to 2.5 weeks. My concentration would just be on Selenium, this part. Okay, so after that we will see how to implement all these things, how to learn. We will be learning either Junit or TestNg. Then we will be writing a test scripts and all everything. Fine. TestNg, I will give you an introduction in the very beginning itself. Maybe on the day 5 I will give you what TestNg is. Fine. But you have to, but you have to be a little bit patient, because as a tester we all think that fine, we have to do all these things, validation and all. So first learn the tool. Learning the tool is quite important out here. Okay, be patient, just learn the tool first. Now after going to Gmail, right, I need to enter my username, password, and I want to log in into my Gmail account. This is a very simple scenario wherein you have to enter username, password and log in. Fine. Now how do I do that? To do that, you have got various criteria in Selenium. There are various ways in which you can identify objects in Selenium, right? To understand those ways, first of all, you will have to understand what static is first of all. Okay, static. Why the main function is static? Why do we use this keyword static again and again in Java language? Right. I will go to my previous day 1 project out here. In day 1, I had created a class called city. City class had a name and print name features. So practically this is known as a non-static variable. Okay, and this is known as practically this function is known as non-static function in Java. Suppose there is a variable called string country. Say when I am creating the objects of city class, which I was doing yesterday over here, I created 4 objects of city class, and I was writing the C1 object has name A, C2 has name B, C3 has name C, C4 has name B. But suppose all the cities are supposed to have the same country. Say all the cities have the country equals to some country, same country. All the cities have the same country, C1, C2, C3 and C4. Does it look good to give like this? Because in the memory I am creating say 4 objects, and in 4 objects I am having one variable which has got same value. So we avoid this. We don't do like this. We go to our city class and we make the country variable static. So if we make a variable static in a class, the effect of that is that it no longer becomes the part of the object. If you create the object in the memory, if I create 4 objects, then static variable will not be the part of the object. It lies somewhere here in the memory at a common location, and all the objects can access it from this common location. It is not the part of an object. So if I make this static, and if I go to my test city class, if I go back to the class, you will observe that out here in this class you get yellow warning signs over here. Yellow signs are warning signs. It is not exactly an error, but a warning that this is a static field. It is not the part of the object. Why are you trying to refer it with the object reference? So static things are referred with the name of the class directly. You should not refer them like this. I can refer static stuff like this. I can write the name of the class city dot country equals to say India. So all the cities which are created out here will have the country India by default, because the country variable will be somewhere common in the memory. Okay. Similarly, you can have a static function as well. So this is known as a static variable. Okay. And similarly, I can create a function, say public static void, say a function which is common for all the countries. Say some function is common for all the countries. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Now out here, if I make a function which is common for all the countries, I can call this function directly with the like this only. So static stuff is something which is common for all the objects, and it can be accessed with the class name dot the function. For example, when we initialize our Chrome driver, we were initializing our Chrome driver in gmail.java, right, on this line. Before writing this line, we write system.setProperty. What is this actually? System is a class in Java, it's an inbuilt class, and set property is a static function in it. If you move your mouse over this set property function, you will see that the keyword static is associated with it. You will see the definition of this function. You can see this whole thing in Eclipse, right? But you must be wondering one thing, that if I move my mouse over Chrome driver, I don't get the definition of Chrome driver, what it does. But if I move my mouse over system, I get it. This is because basically you have to import the Java docs of Selenium from the Selenium website into Eclipse, and then automatically Eclipse will become smart enough that it will give you the definition and functions of all the classes and features of Selenium when you move your mouse over those classes and functions. Right. So what I'm going to do now is, I should have done it earlier, I did not do it, it slipped out of my mind. I will, in my day 2, I will import the Java docs of Selenium in Eclipse, so that again and again you don't have to refer these Java docs from here. Okay. So right, Karan, I guess there is no delay now. I hope everything is fine with you. Okay, please let me know. And in the site seleniumhq.org, this is the Java doc link, right? If I copy the link location, okay, if I copy the link location, just right click and copy link location and go back to your Eclipse, go to the day 2 project, go to the properties of this project, and you open up this jar file, Selenium Java 2.25. If you have downloaded 2.25, you can go over there, this particular jar file, okay, and expand it. There would be a Java doc location option out here, right? You edit it and paste the URL here, okay, and remove index.html from here. Remove this index.html. If you have Java docs on your local system, you can select the second radio button and select them. I prefer it online because I couldn't find them downloadable, right? I never found Java docs for WebDriver downloadable, so I just refer them online. And they have a SVN server. From there you cannot download, actually you can only refer online. So if you click on OK, now Java docs are there in Eclipse. If you move your mouse over Firefox driver, now you will get exactly what this class is. Right, hold on. If you move your mouse over WebDriver, see that you get all the things, that this is the WebDriver interface. These are the classes which are implementing the interface, right? If I click on any one of the class, it will open in a new tab inside my Eclipse only, and I can refer it over here. Or if I write driver dot, I get a lot of functions, right? You click on a function and you will get what that function does. So this is quite handy because you don't have to go here and there in the Java docs. You can, on the fly, you can check what the function is doing. Right. Now, as we move forward, right, we'll move forward from here. So I talked about what static is. Then I deviated a little bit and I went over to Java docs. I'll come back to static now. Right. So I was telling you that system is a class and set property is a static function in that class. Similarly, in Selenium API, in the Java docs of Selenium, you will find that there is the inbuilt class called by. This is the inbuilt class, and this class basically tells you the mechanisms in Selenium used to locate elements within a document. Document means the HTML page which opens up, right? And this class has got all static features inside it. For example, you can locate an element by, say, ID. And I hope everybody has heard this word. You can locate the element by ID in automation, right? Other things are also there by class name, CSS selectors, link text, name, tag name, XPATHS is there. So this class by helps you to identify the objects. Now in WebDriver, if you write by dot, you get a list of functions out here, by the ID, by the link text, by the name, partial link text, tag name. So you get whole bunch of features out here which can be used in Selenium to identify your objects. Okay. Now, how do I use this by class and what are these features? To understand that, if you're inclined more towards Selenium and if you want to know it in depth, right, what I would suggest you is that go through an HTML tutorial for 10 minutes. This will make learning Selenium very easy, because what Selenium does is that it works on the page source. This is the page source. Okay. It works on the page source of the application. This is the page source, right? And that's why it only works in web-based applications, because it only works on the page source. Desktop-based applications have got no page source. Now, if you type in Google HTML tutorial, you will actually get this tutorial at WC Schools. It is a very good tutorial. I would request that after the class, at least for the first 10 topics, just give a brief overview. No need to code, no need to write anything. Just read what it is written out here. You'll get what HTML language is, because you'll have to get very familiar with this language if you want to learn Selenium in depth. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just take HTML with you, right? And I'll tell you what HTML is actually. So I'll just create a new Excel file over here. and I'll call it html.xlsx. Fine. Now when you work on a web page, when you are working on a web page, I'll just make columns here, say element. You have got various elements on any web page. What kind of elements you have on a web page? It is right. You have got elements like you have link, you have input field in which you type, right? Then you have radio buttons, you have checkboxes, you have select box, the drop list, fine. You have buttons, then you have normal text is there on the page, fine. You have images on the page. Right. These are the general visible components which are there on any web page, on any application. Right. I'm not talking about the Flash components. Flash-based testing is very different. Right. Apart from this, you have something known as frames in a page, and you have got web tables as well. Now, frames and web tables are not visible to the normal human eye. Okay. So now, how these elements are detected? Now, don't try to compare Selenium with QTP. Okay, if you know QTP, then keep that knowledge, keep it aside, because Selenium works in a little bit different way than QTP. Okay, in QTP, you have got classes and all for all these things. Don't actually compare it with that, right? So now out here, you have these elements. Then every element in the page source has got some mandatory attributes. Then there are some optional attributes, and hold on, there's one more thing. Every element has also got a tag name. Fine. So you use the combination of these tag names, mandatory attributes, and optional attributes to identify the objects on the web page. Right. What are objects in technical terms? If you hear automation testers talking to each other, you would constantly hear the word that object is not detected or object is not visible. I am not able to find the object. Technically, on a browser, everything is an object. A link is an object, an input box is an object. Technically, we call it object. Even the browser is also referred as object. Okay, the page is also an object. The link is also an object. Right. So what we'll do is we'll stop here for today. To complete this thing, I need a lot of time, right? And we will continue tomorrow. Same time, you will be getting a new URL